Yeah, thanks for being here. You are running for Walton County Commissioner District 3, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And so can you just, for people who may not know you, go ahead and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background and your career?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a native of Walton County. Um, I graduated high school, Walton High School in Phoenix Springs in 1979. Um, ran a managed a small business for my parents in Phoenix for a while. After then, went to school for a little while after high school. Um, I actually went to work for the sheriff's office in Walton County at the age of 20 years old. I started toting the gun and badge in Walton County. Went to work full time in 1982. Worked for the sheriff's office as a deputy sheriff for until 1989. In 1989, I was selected by the Walton County Board of County Commissioners as the first full-time emergency management director for the county. In that job, I had, it was the first emergency management director in the county. So there was a lot of things unknown about what the duties and responsibilities would be. Before then, it had been the old time civil defense, which pretty much the only thing they'd done was plan for nuclear wars and stuff like that, which there wasn't a whole lot of those going on. So the country was changing to emergency management, which was kind of an all hazards planning for emergencies and disasters. Not just man-made disasters, but natural disasters. So there was a lot of plans and things had to be put in place for the county, a lot of plans that were first-time plans that had never been written for the county. That was my responsibilities to do. One of the first things the county told me to do was to see what we could do about putting 911 system in the county. That was in 1989 when I went to work for the county commissioners in that position. So I went to work on 911. We didn't have it in the county, any type of 911 system, which several Northwest Florida counties did not have 911 at that time. Figured out why we didn't have 911, and it was a funding thing. The county couldn't afford it, so I went after the money, tried to get grant monies and things to put the system in, and was successful in doing that. So worked on 911 for a few years, got it turned on in 1993, I believe it was. So that was a large project. And along with that, we'd done a countywide addressing system. We had to readdress the county, some type of a logical street numbering system. The addresses that we had before were routes and box numbers, where you go to the third tree on the left and turn it that dirt road and go to where the dog's barking on the porch, and that's how a fire truck or ambulance or a law enforcement vehicle found you. And that wasn't good enough. So we readdressed the county. Went through numerous disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, train derailments, you name it, we had in the county back then. So after then, I left the county in 1997. Went into real estate, had a private business down in the South Walton County, a retail business for about 5 years. Also, after then, I had a property management company for a number of years. Went back to work part-time with the Phoenix Springs Police Department in 2004. And in 2009, back to the sheriff's office and went back in as the emergency management director for a second time, 12 years after I left it the first time. So we had a Gulf oil spill soon after that in 2010. So I was the initial incident commander working under the sheriff for the Gulf oil spill. I left the sheriff's office in 2010, went to work for the Florida Division of Emergency Management, and then retired officially in 2012. Actually, my retirement was from the sheriff's office. During that time at the sheriff's office, I've worked my way up through multiple ranks. I've been a lieutenant, captain, retired a major. So a lot of accomplishments in Walton County. I've had small business ownership, managed small businesses, retail experience, real estate experience. I've been on the Walton County Planning Commission. I was asked about 2.5 years ago by the Board of County Commissioners to be on the Walton County Planning Commission, where I've served in that position for the last 2.5 years, which has been a very interesting experience. So that's pretty much my background. I've got a lot of things that I've done in my life, but I've contributed most of my adult life to serve in Walton County in some capacity or another. So, and a lot of those times were during the best and the worst of times in this county. So that's been my pretty much been my background is working in Walton County my entire life.
Okay, so why did you decide to run for a seat on the county commissioner?
Well, I felt like everything that I had done in the county kind of, I would say it kind of led up to it, but it was, I had a lot of people ask me to run for county commissioner. I felt like I had a well-rounded background and experiences in Walton County to be a county commissioner. I worked for numerous county commissioners before. I've worked for 2 county sheriffs. I've worked for 2 police chiefs, city municipalities. I worked for state agencies that's covered Walton County. So I felt like that I had a good, well-rounded background to be a county commissioner, and I felt like there was a need. I felt like people needed a choice. Some things in the county that I felt like needed to change. I felt like the citizens needed a commissioner that they could talk to, someone that would listen to their needs and respond to their needs, and someone that would actually talk with them and not talk at them. There's a large difference in that than talking with someone and talking at someone. So I wanted to be someone that they could talk with and someone that would respond to their needs and not just listen to them and then not pay it any attention. So I felt like I definitely had the ability to do that. And I think I've been around county government long enough, and also the private sector in this county, to be able to represent the county and be a good county commissioner. So that was my motivation for running.
Okay, and so if you should get elected this upcoming election, what would be your top 3 priorities for the beginning?
Well, the county is, we've been, there's a lot of single item issues going on right now in the county. We have a lot of different issues, a lot of things that are important to people. And I tell you, this election's been really interesting because there are a lot of single issue items, and people, they have their mindset on one answer. And, we get questions like, if depending on how you answer this, you'll get my vote. But, it's not just that simple. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that are single issue items and in this county, but whoever you elect as a commissioner is going to be listening to all the issues facing the county for the next 4 years. So it's not just a single item. What may be a single item today may not be an issue tomorrow. It may not be next week. So that person that gets elected is going to be listening to all of the items that concerns the county for the next 4 years. But I think there's a lot of things going on in the county. We have this county is growing fast. I mean, from what it was 20, 30 years ago when I grew up, it's not the same anymore. So there's a lot of development issues, and primarily in South Walton County. We have a lot of development down there, and it's totally, to a large point, got out of control. I mean, our development is to such an extent that you can't move, you can't walk, you can't stand, you can't drive a vehicle. So we have some serious concerns with managing development in the South End. I'm not against development. I'm against unmanaged, unplanned development. So I think we need to control our development. I think we need to manage it in a way that our infrastructure, our road network, our stormwater issues can be addressed, but we don't need to just put developments in that hurts our system, that hurts our environment, that destroys our wetlands, and put things in that our road network cannot cope with and cannot stand. And that also hurts the quality of life for our citizens. I mean, we have permanent residents in the county, so we have to think about those permanent residents just like we do the visitors. I mean, the permanent residents live here all the time. So we have to think about their quality of life. How is the large developments affecting them? Because yes, we do thrive on tourism and tourist tax dollars, but we also have citizens here that pay taxes as well. And those citizens are in it for the long haul. They're not just in it for a vacation. They're in it to live here all the time. So that's an important issue. In the central part of the county, we have a issue of septic services. We need to get sewer all the way from Freeport to the west portion of the county, to the county line. We need to get rid of all the septic tanks around the bay, the Choctawhatchee Bay. We have a lot of pollution going in the bay. We need to stop that. There's a lot of things that's happened that we cannot fix. There's damage that's been done that we can't go back and fix, but we can certainly prevent it from continuing to happen. So there's a lot of mitigation in the bay that we need to do. We need to get the oyster beds repopulated. We need to clean out the areas that are polluted and try to restore our bays. That's a big issue in this county. And again, stopping the developments that contribute to the pollution of the bays and the waterways. So that's a large issue. Economic development in this county is a large issue. We need jobs in this county and industry to come that's not tied to tourism. So you look at the South Walton County and it's the development down there, and then you look at starting to come north. It's north of the bay now, 331 being 4-lane development starting there. So we have to control that development. Development's important, but we have to control it to make sure that it doesn't just spread to the north end of the county and get out of control in the north end as well. So those are some issues that we have that's very important, and it's going to take some work on. And you know, a commissioner can't get elected and solve all the issues in one day. You know, I've had people ask, well, what is your plan for the first day? What are you going to do the first day you're in office? Well, I'm not going to solve all the county's problems in one day, but what I'm going to do is start to work on them. And one commissioner, lone commissioner by themselves, can't do a whole lot, but make suggestions and can try to convince other commissioners and listen to the citizens' needs and try to work toward things. And that's how you get things done, is you work together. And I'm absolutely committed to work with the other commissioners, if elected, and to try to get things done and make decisions. There's been a lot of times the Board of County Commissioners kind of, sometimes for whatever reason, they'll put something off and not make a decision. Well, the citizens want decisions on things. So I think it's incumbent upon the commissioners to do the research or get staff to do the research if that's what they're dependent on, and make sure that they have the information they need so they can make a decision. You know, in my background in emergency services, you know, I had to make decisions, and a lot of times you have to make decisions and fast, and you use what information you have, and sometimes you make a wrong decision. You know, I'm certainly not perfect, just like nobody else on earth is perfect. But sometimes you have to make decisions, and if you make the wrong decision, then you regroup and do something different. That's just part of it. But you have to make a decision, and I think we need some backbone on the county commission to make decisions and to get things done. And I'm committed to do that.
So when you say uncontrolled or unmanageable development, do you mean roads or apartment developments or business development, or what do you mean by that?
All of those, actually. We've had a serious issue in the past, and this just hasn't happened overnight. This has been happening for years. We haven't gotten to where we're at in overnight in the last month or two or a year or two. But we have been allowing developers, not all of them, but some, or their attorneys or representatives, to manipulate our land development code and our comprehensive plan to get variances on developments and things that should not have gotten variances on those. And developments that's went in areas, there have been developments that's hurt and or destroyed our wetland areas, our nature, our trees, things we can't replace. You can't replace those things. I mean, you can't, you know, when a wetland's filled in and it's destroyed, that's it. It's filled in. It's done. So we need to preserve our wetlands. This county Walton County is beautiful. It's a large county land-wise, and it's a beautiful county. We have some of the most prettiest nature preserves and nature areas in this county that you want to see. We need to preserve that at whatever cost. We need to preserve that. There's plenty of property to build on, and I understand there's areas in the south end that is very sought after. The land is pristine land for development. It's very sought after, but it's also, there's a lot of areas down there that's nature areas. There's areas that we need to preserve, and we need to do that. We need to do a better job of doing that. There's a lot of land north of the bay to build on. There's a lot of raw land, a lot of vacant land you can build on, but you know what? We need to do it north of the bay as well. We still need to preserve those areas that we have here. We have those same kind of nature areas in the north end of the county. So we need to preserve what we have, because you can't put it back.
So I guess, how do you plan to balance economic development and development like that and the preservation of the environment with the population growth and the very important tourism-driven economy of Walton County?
Well, there's the economy, the tourism is very important to this county. I understand that. But there's areas we still have to control development. I mean, the development that's went in the south end has gotten to where we are now. We have a serious issue with mobility in South Walton County. We need to address that. There's been some studies done that were great studies done on mobility. We need to put some of that in place and get to working on it and not just let it sit on the shelf. We need to take these plans that's been done, these studies, and put them in action. There's a lot of good studies on mobility for putting in special roadways for different types of powered vehicles to transport people up and down the coast. Different types of bicycle paths and things like that. Parking areas. Parking is a serious issue in South Walton. We need to look at some off-site parking and be able to transport people to the beaches. So we need to work on that before we have to get a grip on where we're at now. We have to be able to move people around, to park people. When people come down here, they have to be able to move around. So we have to slow it down enough to get a grip on that, to be able to put some of these things in motion before we continue development and just keep building it out. And when a development comes in, we need to make sure that it's not overtaxing our road network, because if it overtaxes that road network, then it also overtaxes our citizens that live there, and they can't move around. So now you have tourists that can't move. We have citizens that can't move around, and that's a serious issue. So, we need to look at some things. If development needs to go north of the bay, some of it, then that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to move it where we have some room to grow, but we have to manage it. I mean, it has to be managed from here on out. It hasn't been managed very well in the past. So we have to manage that. And there's some that's not going to like it, but you can't sacrifice the well-being and the citizens. You can't sacrifice their peace and joy for development. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, you have to have some type of peaceful living, and you have to balance that somehow. So it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take some studying and some work groups to be able to get that done. But I have no doubt we can do it. We just have to be committed to do it.
Okay, so you're not saying to halt it, you're just saying to kind of move it around to other parts of the
Well,
county.
manage it. Make sure we manage it. We need to stick to our land development code and our comprehensive plan. That's what it's for. We need to stick to that, and we haven't done a good job of sticking to that. So we need to quit going against, we need to quit letting people go against the land development code and the comprehensive plan. We need to stick to that. That's why it's in place. And that's managed growth. And that's what we need, is managed growth. And if we violate the codes that we have in place, then there's no sense in having them in place. And you can never manage it if you're violating your own rules.
Okay, thanks so much. And so you talked a little bit about, immediate shorter term issues, and this may be a shorter term issue, but it's also been an issue since at least 2018. And I guess, how would you plan to address the Confederate monument and the Confederate flag in Tufuniac Springs that's come under a lot of controversy lately?
It has, and I think all of the candidates has probably gotten that question. Even though we're not county commissioners yet, people want to know how we feel about that. And I'll tell you, I've lived in this county my entire life. I've seen that monument and the flag up there my entire life. So I understand why people would have some issues with that. I mean, and I have friends on both sides. So I've listened to both sides talk about it, what their issues were, and some people has issues with it, some people don't. So number one, the first thing right out of the box is it was put on a referendum and voted on 2 years ago. 65% of people voted on that. So the majority of the precincts in this county voted to leave it where it's at. All but one precinct, in fact, is voted to leave it where it's at. So the first thing is, how do you go against a vote of the citizens of the county? How do you do that? It's the first, and what I think about it and what I've talked about to people is even understanding the different views and positions folks have on that. We can't change history. That happened. We can't take it away. We can't change it. What we can do is how we view it in the future is what matters. And what we teach our children and people that's just growing up, how we teach them is what's important to know about history, to know that this happened. You know, it was a bad thing, we go from there. I mean, that's what's important is the education of our young people, so they don't have the same issues as we have today. But you know about moving, I've heard people say, well, that vote was non-binding, which means the county commissioners could go against it and change it. We know county commissioners get elected every 2 years in this county. So this year there's 3 county commission seats up for election. In 2 years, there'll be 2 county commission seats up for election. So that being the case, if the county commissioners went against that vote and voted on it, then in 2 years, politics could change in this county. Somebody could talk the county commissioners into changing it again. If we moved it, guess what? In 2 years, it might come right back. So are you just going to move it around every couple of years or every time politics changes? And I've heard people say, well, that's not the place for it. Well, you know, it may or not. I wasn't around in the reasons for putting it there when it was put there. But again, if politics changes, then you could be bouncing it around back and forth every 2 years. You could be moving it back and forth. And I just don't think we can do that. So, you know, keep moving it back and forth. So, and again, an issue is what do you do? How do you go against a vote of the citizens of the county? I mean, if you'd done that, then there would no vote, in my opinion, there would be no vote ever would be sacred that the county commissioners made again, that the citizens made again, if it was put on referendum. If you're going to go against it, then what does it matter what they say? And to me, what the citizens says does matter. And that's why it's important for people to get out and vote. People needs to get out and vote. You know, if not enough people voted, there's never enough people that votes. So a small percentage of people actually votes that's registered to vote. So they need to get out and vote. And you know, it's incumbent upon all of us to tell people to get out and vote, to make your views known, to make your position known by voting. That's how we get things done. So that is a very complex issue. And I've told people that's asked me, friends that I've talked to about it, said, you know, I always have an open mind to talk with people. But I think right now we have things going on, the issues going on that concerns our lives, our health, our safety, especially with the virus going on. We have real serious concerns with our safety and the economy of this county and the country. So those things are pressing issues that affects all of us in one way or another. And right now the tension is tight between both sides. That's you know, the folks that wants to move the monument, the flag, folks that wants to keep it where it's at. Now's not the time, while tension is so tight and tense between the groups of people, to even really discuss it. I mean, there needs to be discussion maybe at some point in time down the road. I'm definitely open to discuss it, but you know, right now is just not the time to do that. You know, we have other issues that's very important. Not saying that's not important, but there's issues facing our economy and our health. That's what we need to be focusing on right now.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about COVID. What are your views on a mandatory mask mandate in Walton County? I know that the Board of County Commissioners is talking about that tomorrow, I think, but you know, experts have been saying that this could go on for a year if a vaccine is found, or 4 years. And so I guess what are your thoughts about that going into the future?
Well, I definitely have thoughts just like everyone else. I mean, it's a serious concern. So I guess I get to vote on it now before the commissioners votes on it tomorrow then. So no, you know, that's a serious concern for all of us. And I'll tell you, I wear my mask, my wife and I both, when we go out, when we can't effectively social distance, we wear our mask. We wear that for each other, for our protection, because we want to keep each other safe. I also have an 84-year-old mother that I'm doing everything that I can to try to keep her safe. I go around her, do things for her. When I go around my mother, I wear my mask, because I know that if she contracted this virus, there's a good possibility it would kill her at her age. And I don't want that to happen. So if the mask is uncomfortable, no doubt, I detest wearing it. It makes me feel like I can't breathe sometimes, even though I know I can. It's just a perception that I can't breathe. And I know there's some people that may have some health condition that they can't use it. You know, there's other factors involved. My wife went to a regular checkup of her doctor last week, And before she went, she had to call them on the phone, and they asked her, have you been to any group of people that, any groups of 10 or more in the last 10 days? And she had to answer that. Well, the night before, we were at a Republican meeting that there were more than 10 people at. But she told them we wore a mask. We were, but we wore a mask. So the doctor's office was good with that we wore our mask. But she could as easily said, no, we haven't been, or, not told them, we haven't been to anywhere, and they'd had to take our word for it. But so we wear our mask to protect ourselves, and for me to protect my mother. On the other side of that, there's mandatory mask mandates that, is it enforceable? I don't think there's no way you could enforce it. I mean, you can't task law enforcement with enforcing someone wearing a mask. There's not enough law enforcement to do that. And I think if you make it mandatory, you're going to cause more turmoil, making it mandatory, and cause more confusion and more problems for law enforcement. And they have enough problems without that, just day-to-day activities. But you're going to severely tax the call centers. 911 centers will call. You're going to have disturbances. You're going to have all kinds of things associated with making it mandatory. I think that people have to take some responsibility on their own. And I think it's, businesses now have the option of making it mandatory in our county, in Walton County, to whether or not to make it mandatory. They can make it mandatory for nobody to come in their store if they don't have a mask on, or they can let people come in without mask on. That's their discretion to do that. And I think that's fine. If people does not want to go into a store that is not forcing people to wear a mask, then don't go in that store. I think as many, and I've heard people say I'm not going to go in here, I'm not going to go in there. Well, there's enough places now that delivers groceries and things to you. You just about don't have to go anywhere. You can get it, you can order it and have it brought to you. But people need to be able to protect themselves. I think that's a decision that we're going to have to let people make, whether or not to wear a mask. To force something on people in this country is just not something that people want to be done. And I get that. I mean, the freedom of our freedoms is the reason we live in the United States. But I also think that county government, state government doing nothing is unacceptable. I think we have to do something. I think we need to be telling people they need to social distance. I think we need to be advertised it. Maybe spend a little money on a billboard that says, we recommend that you social distance and wear your mask when you can't, when you're in groups of people. I think we can be doing that because people, if they come into the county and they see a sign, I know some areas are doing that. If they see a sign, see some advertisement that says, we recommend you doing this, X number of people is going to do it. They're going to put it on. They're going to say, well, if they're recommending it, then I need to do that. So I think we need to continue to educate people. And if you listen to social media, which most everybody does, if you listen to social media, you'll have medical experts telling you, well, it helps. Medical experts, so-called experts, whoever they are, saying it doesn't help. One group will say, yes, it helps to wear your mask. Absolutely. One group says, no, it helps to, to spread the virus, to spread it if you wear your mask, however that is. But you hear so many conflicting things, whether to do it or whether not to do it. I think people are going to have to use their own discretion and protect themselves and try to help protect the community. I know it's spreading. Who knows how long it's going to be around? Who knows how long it's going to be before there'll be a vaccination? But I think we all owe it to ourselves and to each other to protect ourselves and each other in the best way that we can. So, but again, I think making it mandatory is something that the county government I don't think there's no way you could enforce that. So not sure how that vote's going to go and what the county is going to decide, but that's my personal views on it. But again, I wear my mask, my wife wears her mask, and we have reasons for doing that. So, and those reasons are very important to us. So we do.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think that's all I have. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, other than this has been I'll say a rewarding experience. The candidates, we've had several online Zoom forums that's been put together by a couple of different organizations in the county. So we've had the chance to be around each other. politics in Walton County has been interesting for my entire lifetime. It's been an interesting thing to watch. You've seen a lot of things going on in politics that shouldn't have happened. You've seen what they call the dirty politics. You've seen a lot of slander against from one politician to another, candidate to another, and that's something we haven't seen yet. I know in my race, it's been we've passed, repassed, we speak, we get, everybody gets along, we answer questions. I have ran my candidacy based on my qualifications and for the job, because it is a job, based on my qualifications, my views for the county. And just my wife and I celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary 4 days before election. And we survived everything that's went on in the last 10 years by respecting each other and having optimism for our future. And that's exactly the way I'll be, that if I get elected county commissioner, is I'll respect the citizens and I'll have optimism for the county and for the future of the county. So I appreciate the opportunity to run. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here and to talk with you, and thank you for the people that watch us.
Mr. Berger, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.